What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of Loaded Box Vids. We are on episode 8, and today we will be talking about some of our favorite buy high options, which is something you typically don't hear about too much. No one really wants to fork out, a ton of assets to get their guys, but in certain cases, you just got to do it. Before we hop in, Dylan, how you doing?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm just excited to talk about football.
Oh my God. Catchphrase. I love it every single week. But seriously, Dylan, how are you doing, man? Are you pumped up? Are you pumped up to talk about some big names today?
Yeah, buy highs are always fun. I mean, no one ever wants to pay a high amount of draft capital, but if you're going to get one of these guys on this list we have procured, you might be excited. End results. Might not be happy to see that stuff leave the bank, so to speak, but the end of the season, you might thank us.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a weird thing telling people to go buy high, but the guys that we're going to highlight today, I genuinely think they will have higher values this time next year, which is why we're calling them buy highs, because right now they're so damn expensive, but they're only going to get even more expensive as their production comes through.
Correct.
So Dylan, I'll let you start off first. Give me your first buy high of the day.
I'll start off with an easier one. This is probably one of the cheaper guys on the list, but I'll go with Antonio Gibson. I think he far exceeded anyone's expectations besides maybe a couple Washington fans. He went really late in any of your rookie drafts, unless it was closer to when the season started. He got a little bit of hype, but if you had an earlier draft, he went in the third or even fourth round. Not much else to say. I mean, he really kind of took the job running, pun intended, after like the second or third week. The first couple weeks he got sprinkled in there. He missed a little bit of time due to injury, but he clearly ran away with the job. I mean, granted, the stars align with Darius Geis being a scumbag and then releasing Adrian Peterson. But with all that said, there's no other back on the roster that can really challenge Antonio Gibson. I mean, I think J.D. McKissick is still under contract.
And
so it's a good little 1-2 punch. And the Washington shouldn't draft running back at all now. So for the foreseeable future, Gibson is the guy.
Yeah, and I do see him taking more of a third down responsibility. I mean, J.D. McKissick was pretty good in the passing game last year, but Antonio Gibson is pretty damn good at it as well. And I think they're going to look to get him a little bit more involved. He's definitely going to see an uptick in production, I'd say, especially as Washington kind of finds themselves as a team. Ron Rivera settles in as the coach. They figure out what the hell they're going to do with the quarterback position. I definitely like Gibson. Now, before we hopped on, I actually plugged it into the trade calculator, and Gibson's value is currently set as a top 2 rookie pick. If we're just trading a rookie pick straight up for Antonio Gibson, like you mentioned, you probably bought him with a mid to late second round pick last year.
Yeah, I got him in the third round in our shared Dynasty league, and it was late in the third round.
Exactly. And now he's worth a top 2 rookie pick in Dynasty. But would you be willing to part ways? Let's say you have 102, the guy you want to go out and get Antonio Gibson. Would you trade 102 knowing that it's probably Jamar Chase or Najee Harris or even Kyle Pitts? Would you trade that to get Antonio Gibson, who is likely going to be a workhorse pretty soon in Washington?
I think I might. I mean, I think it depends upon your team. If you're a team that has a chance to go back in it as soon as this season, or even if you view there's something to be said about a proven player. Gibson is only going on his second season. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear underneath his knees yet. And there's nothing to be said that out of the 3 top running backs in this class, 2 out of the 3 could go to less than desirable landing spots, whereas Gibson's already in a pretty preferable spot. So I actually might do that in all honesty. And also, if you're a salary league, like I said, like ours, Gibson probably isn't going to break the bank, because if anybody drafted him in the first round, they were reaching, which granted now it's not a reach, but at the time it would have been like, what the, so it's like Gibson's going to be cheap as well if you factor in any salary type leagues as well. So yeah. I personally probably, I do it, or at least consider it on both parties.
Yeah, and I mean, if he continues to progress, he's going to be considered a top 10 dynasty running back. Top 10 dynasty running backs do not grow on trees. You take your guy at 101 or 102 with the hope that he ends up being a top 15 dynasty running back. So if you can get the sure thing in Antonio Gibson, I 1,000% would. But I know your next guy is also a rookie or going to be a second-year player.
A little bit of a theme.
Yeah, I can tell. This guy was one of my favorites when you drafted him. I sent you about 1 billion trade offers to try to get him in.
He's not kidding. He actually sent me one when he was very inebriated, and he sent me a trade offer that I should have accepted, but I'm a good person, and I did not. But that player is CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. Mikey, if you're listening, CeeDee, I think you're your biggest fan of North Carolina. But no, so CeeDee Lamb, once again, not much to say. It's kind of crazy thinking that you would buy high on a receiver in such a powerful offense, but they just re-signed Dak Prescott to a very lucrative contract. Amari Cooper, I believe, can be cut after this season or next season to save money and only eat like $4 million dead cap. So from a dynasty standpoint, it's also good to get your guy. And then thirdly, I believe Michael Gallup also hits free agency in a year or two. So there's a scenario in 2 years down the line with Dak's big boy contract and freaking the Ewok, Mr. Chunky Ezekiel Elliott. I don't like Zeke. I like everyone else in the Cowboys. I think that there's a scenario a couple of years from now where you see Lamb as the actual wide receiver one, and the other two guys I named are not there via being cap casualties. So Lamb for the foreseeable future, especially with Dak Prescott for the next several years, I mean, his value is only going to skyrocket up. It's going to cost you a shit ton, but it's worth it.
Oh, for sure. And I actually just checked the calculator here. Lamb and Gibson have very incredibly similar
I didn't even plan that. It was just my brain going off.
Yeah, and I mean, I would be more than happy with parting ways with a top 2, top 3 rookie pick to get CeeDee Lamb. I would even be comfortable with sending 2 late first round picks or something like that for CeeDee Lamb. I mean, he balled out as a rookie. He was doing phenomenal with Dak Prescott in last year, and even when Andy Dalton took over, CeeDee Lamb found himself in some pretty big weeks here and there. So I definitely like that. I think he's insanely talented. I'm still going to say that he is the most talented receiver of last year's class, even over Justin Jefferson. Maybe that's a hot take. I personally don't think it is. But I mean, there's a ton to like about him. He's got a great rapport with Dak Prescott already. It's just an absolutely explosive offense. I mean, it's just a perfect situation for an elite level talent. And he sees so many targets already. I mean, if one of the receivers, either Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup, ends up leaving, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb to the moon. So definitely like the call on him to be a buy high target, because I do genuinely think that by the time the 2021 season has concluded, I think Lamb's value is going to be up to, multiple early to mid first round first. So or first
I
round
think
picks.
I think it makes sense. And like my first two guys, they're also super young, so I think there's something to be said about buying into a younger player. So it's also worth it from a dynasty standpoint. You can keep them for the next 4, 5, 6 years, and it's really worth your value to go out and overpay for a younger guy.
Absolutely. And I know you got one more. Speaking of these younger guys, you're going super young with this pick. And it's an interesting thing to say. You're going to buy.
So it's a little unconventional or unorthodox, however you want to say it. But so basically, I'm the last guy or thing. I'm going to say try to get the 3rd or 4th overall pick. I'll say 4th for the sake of the video, and there's a reason. Mikey knows that my man crush on a certain draft prospect is going through the roof, which is ironic because I cheer for their not sister school, their rival school in college. I'm a Florida State fan, and he goes to Florida, and the Gators are disgusting. So if you're a Gators fan and you're watching this video, please comment. I'll gladly argue with you. Florida State was better for a while, but I digress. So Kyle Pitts, that's the reason why you're trying to overpay and get that pick. Kyle Pitts should not go 1 or 2 in your league. And if he does, congrats. You just landed Chase or Harris at 3 or 4 because that guy, not an idiot, but they definitely reached. So 4, most likely, Mikey and I had conversations off camera about this like all week. 4 in most leagues is probably where Kyle Pitts will go. If not a little later in drafts, it obviously depends upon need. But if you need a receiver / tight end hybrid and you're willing to pay go get that pick because Kyle Pitts, seriously, he's getting over. I say overhyped, but he could really be that good. Like, I don't know. Like, there are executives saying if there's one player in this entire draft that can be like legendary, it's him.
Yeah.
And that's like, I'm excited. So that's.
I don't blame you for being excited. When I was doing my film reviews, I could not find a tight end comparison for him. I literally wrote down he is Julio Jones if Julio Jones played the tight end position. I am interested to see what an NFL team will do with Kyle Pitts because I know some NFL teams might be privy to kind of moving him out, but having an elite level tight end like that with that set of skills, I mean, they can line him up majority as a tight end and put him out wide just as many times. I mean, you never know. He's going to see a ton of work and he's going to see a ton of work often because anything that you could ask for from a tight end, he does it nearly perfectly. He is an absolute stud. And I completely agree with trying to buy high on the 104 because Kyle Pitts, maybe not in this time in 1 year, but this time in 2 years, because obviously we know tight ends typically do take a little while. And no matter how good Kyle Pitts is, it's yet to be seen if he's going to be an exception to that rule. But within 2 years, I don't think you're going to be able to trade the 104 to get Kyle Pitts. So I would rather trade for the 104 so I can get a guy like Kyle Pitts. Or like you said, you could be lucky and end up with Jamar Chase or Najee Harris at that point. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a great buy high option. I know it typically takes a lot to trade up even a couple of spots in your first
round. Depends upon where you are, like moving up to, like if you're like 7-4, it's obviously easier than 12-4, you know?
Exactly. So like, let me ask you a situation. So let's say you finished third place in your league, right? Let's say you have all of your picks. Would you trade the 110, the 210 and next year's first for pick 104?
Probably do it.
I think so too.
210, it's not a guaranteed player. That's like a fringe player. And then your pick, you're just swapping picks. So really the only thing you're paying for is the guy is getting the player in the first round and then they're getting your first next year, in my opinion. So I do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I would definitely buy high.
It sucks when you think about it. I mean, no one wants to pay money. No one wants to trade a big trade in Dynasty or fantasy. But you have to give to get. So
exactly, you do what you do. You do what you got to do to get your guys. And Kyle Pitts could be that guy for you.
And there's a reason why I wore this hat, not because I like that team. That's where I think Kyle Pitts will go.
Bold, but we'll see.
Really bold to say he'll go 6 overall. It's pretty
I would like him to go to Cincinnati. Honestly, that would be kind of stellar. Kind of a kick in the balls to you since they'd be right before the Eagles pick.
Hey, if he goes to Cincinnati, then that means the top offensive lineman's still there. Either way, but I'll let you get to your guys, and we can talk about our shared guy at the end.
All right, so I will. You know what? You just talked about a whole bunch of rookies. I have one going in from their rookie season. I have one guy from that class, and I'll go over him first. And it's T. Higgins. I actually traded for him this offseason, actually just, I think a week or two ago in our league. I sent away, I think it was the 110 Julio Jones and maybe even like a future second round pick or something like that.
Yeah, it was a conditional pick, but that was just, you just kind of tossed it out.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, I spent a lot in order to get T. Higgins, but I am that confident in T. Higgins that I'd be more than happy to do it. Julio Jones is one of those guys. His value in every league is so monumentally different from the last one just because people value him significantly differently. On one hand, he's still elite. On the other hand, he's 32. You don't know what's going on. He can't stay healthy anymore. There's a revolving door potentially coming at quarterback in Atlanta. Like, God only knows what's happened, but I personally thought I was getting a steal sending that, but
you did get a steal because he's also not saying that this is a salary league and Julio Jones is costing what, like $9 million?
Yeah, he was costing me like 16 or 17% of my overall salary cap.
If you made that trade with Mikey in our league and you're listening right now, A, you know who you are, and B, why'd you do
it? But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, T. Higgins is phenomenal. It'll be interesting to see what Cincinnati does in the draft. A lot of people at 105 think they might take a guy like Jamar Chase. If they go with a receiver, you got to wonder what it's going to do to T. Higgins's value going forward, which is definitely something that I was concerned about. But at the end of the day, I mean, if they have Joe Burrow healthy by, week 4, week 5, week 6 of this year, they get Jamar Chase out there. I mean, AJ Green ate up over 100 targets last year by himself. If Jamar Chase absorbs them, we can expect more of the same from T. Higgins. And when T. Higgins was playing with Joe Burrow, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
He actually, in the course of him playing with Joe Burrow for consistency adjusted rankings, he was a top 10 wide receiver when Joe Burrow was throwing him the ball. And
Incredible.
I think having an elite receiver on the other side of him, like Jamar Chase, would only help him out. I mean, think about Juju with Antonio Brown a couple of years ago. It's always good to have an elite guy opposite, or Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. It works if you have a competent quarterback. As long as they can beef up that offensive line, it's going to be tremendous. Nonetheless, T. Higgins, I think he's going to have a massive 2021. And I think his price tag is going to almost double within a year.
The last part, yes, I agree. Smart time to get him. He will not be any cheaper than what you acquired him for. And then B, I don't think the Jamar Chase thing. I think I told you off camera that I was scared of that a little bit. Like I was playing devil's advocate. But now that I think about it, I mean, had Dak stayed healthy, an offense like the Cowboys, Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb probably all still would have got 800 yards and scored touchdowns. So my point is, if they add Chase, Higgins will at least replicate what he did last year, and that's still fine enough to me to overpay. So I'm cool with that guy.
Couldn't agree more. And both of my other guys on this list today are actually wide receivers as well. And I'll go with the next one, Stefon Diggs, Buffalo Bills. No one expected him to do what he did, but he did it, and he did it big. He was a top 3 receiver overall. He was tied for first in the consistency rankings. I mean, there is nothing to dislike about Stefon Diggs with Josh Allen throwing him the ball. It's phenomenal. Obviously, hopefully you bought him really low last year. A lot of people were super sour on him, myself included, going to Buffalo. Yeah. And I mean, Stefon Diggs shut us all up. I couldn't even begin to tell you what he's worth. He is definitely worth multiple mid to early first rounds in Buffalo. And I mean, he's a guy that you got to think we're going to see top 5 receiver numbers from him for the next 2 to 3 seasons. If you're in a win now window and you have the opportunity to trade away a handful of early picks, 1,000% would.
You're right. And I literally got offered Diggs in our league for something stupid, and I looked at it and I was like, "Ew, I don't want that shit." And then halfway through the season, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm the biggest idiot in the face of the world." It's like Diggs for like a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, people were incredibly low on Diggs last year, and hey, if you were someone that kind of saw the shine through the shade, good for you.
I'm sure there's someone listening right now that literally is that person, and they're like, giving us the bird. They're like, idiots. Look at these guys talking. No, but I agree. Diggs is definitely a good buy. High. There's no one on the roster to rival him. I mean, the other 2 receivers of note, Cole Beasley. I mean, he's not that young. He's a rapper as well. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Not a bad rapper, actually.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. He's got some rhymes. And John Brown, like I love the guy, but he's always hurt. Also old. And then Gabriel Davis. So it's like there's no like rising Jefferson or potential like Reg or Ruggs to take his spot. It's just a Diggs show.
Yeah, Diggs is going to continue balling out, like we said, for the next 2 or 3 seasons at least. He's still he's in his prime for
also no running game to threaten him.
Exactly. And if Josh Allen is not going to have an MVP caliber season again. At least not immediately, but he's still going to be pretty damn good. He's still going to be slinging it like a top 10 quarterback should be. And I mean, Diggs is as safe as they come, I think, as a total lock. And another guy that I think is super safe and you should definitely buy high on, he is more than likely a top 3 ranked dynasty receiver in most rankings out there. AJ Brown, Tennessee Titans. Dude's an absolute stud. They're likely losing Corey Davis. They're likely losing Jonnu Smith. They're probably going to bring in a rookie receiver or sign like a free agent receiver. Ryan Tannehill has an insanely good rapport with AJ Brown. Ryan Tannehill's actually just been insanely good ever since he took over as the starting quarterback in Tennessee. And AJ Brown, he is so monumentally efficient, and he does not see a typical wide receiver 1 lion's share of opportunity. You give him the even if he only maintains 80% of his efficiency, but you give him a full workload, like a guy like Calvin Ridley saw this year, or Stefon Diggs or Devontae Adams, you give AJ Brown 80% of his efficiency with 80% of their opportunities, and suddenly you have an every week top 5 wide receiver. And I would be more than willing to trade whatever the hell it takes to get AJ Brown on my team, because he's got the talent, he's got the situation, he's got the youth. I mean, all he needs is the opportunity, and it's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I know you've always been relatively high on AJ Brown. It's ironic because we did he went to the Titans initially when he got drafted, and we were both like, ugh. But you still kind of kept your love, and it's paid off. Yeah, no, Brown's a good guy. He's a good player. He's young. Like you said, the quarterback situation's all there. They have a run game. Hopefully they keep Jonnu Smith. It's going to be a little interesting to see the offense if they lose both him and Corey Davis, because there's not really anybody else on the roster besides Henry. They'll obviously have to sign someone or draft someone. I saw a rumor about Antonio Brown going there, but I'm not sure if I want that. But
that would definitely be an interesting one.
I mean, it'd be cool to have Brown and Brown, when they score a touchdown, you could say Brown squared or something.
I know, but it'd be so confusing for fantasy if you're just watching the box score. Brown scores. Oh shit, which A Brown was it?
The ESPN notification. Brown scores touchdown. You're like, well, either I'm happy or I'm screwed. No, definitely I agree on that. Buy high. It's something to be said about buying high. All these guys we've named are relatively younger. So it's like, yeah, it's going to hurt to buy them. I keep saying that, but you're going to have them for a while. Diggs is the oldest guy, and he's 27, 28 on the list. Everyone else is younger. So
I got to ask you this, and I'm looking at the trade calculator right now, and fair value for AJ Brown it's pretty high up there, but I expected this.
Give it to me.
Fair value is trading away pick 101 and pick 106 straight up for AJ Brown.
Damn. All right. So basically it would be like if you have an early pick this year and a pick next year, depending upon the person.
Well, yeah. And I mean, either way, a 106 this year is probably more valuable than any pick is next year, because you can't guarantee what any pick is going to be next year.
Well, yeah. So future picks, I don't have a problem trading, because like you just said, you could end up lucking yourself. Like my first year in Dynasty, you can ask Mikey. My team wasn't bad, but like I had the curse or the blessing. Everyone scored only like 80 points against me, and I just willed my way to playoffs. I didn't deserve it, but the other teams just shat the bed against me, and I happened to get in. I tanked. I sold players, and Mikey was like, "LOL, look, you're in the playoffs." So my point is, the future pick could mean Jack Daly's squat.
That's true.
That guy could see you as a bad team, and you could luck into like last place in the playoffs, and then that top 3 pick becomes 7th pick. So I'd still probably do it. I mean, it's going to hurt more than any other trades. But if you're going to trade for Brown, I'm assuming your roster's close to competing. Hopefully you're not going to pull a knucklehead move and trade for a guy like Brown and not.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like him as a buy high. Like 101 and 106 is fair value. I really think this time next year, his fair value is going to be 2 top 3 first round picks. And I mean, this is excluding any potential players. Like obviously you could probably do 105 and a handful of players to get AJ Brown or something like that. I'm just using rookie picks for the sake of my insanity here. But nonetheless, AJ Brown, his value is going to skyrocket over this next season. But that's pretty much going to do it for us here today. I did have an honorable mention. I'm not going to talk about him just because I know we're kind of running a little bit long. That's fine. Long story short, it's Jonathan Taylor. He's a top 5, top 6 dynasty running back already. He's probably going to creep into the top 3 territory the next couple of years. Whatever you got to do to get him, you're hoping that a Najee Harris or a Travis Etienne or a Javonte Williams, you're hoping that one of those guys can return even 75% of what Jonathan Taylor can do. So take that information for what you will and use that however you want to. But that's going to do it for us here today on the Loaded Box Vids. Dylan, thank you for joining me as always here. I really like your picks, Antonio Gibson, CeeDee Lamb, and then telling people to go out and try to acquire the 103 or 104 to get that next big rookie tight end in Kyle Pitts, or maybe
it's almost like I looked at my roster and just
wow. Wow. Holy crap. You literally have all 3 of these things on. I hate you so much. With that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you're following me, Dylan, and Loaded Box on Twitter. Feel free to head to our website at loadedboxpodcast.com. dynastydynasty.com. Check out our articles, check out our podcast, check out our rankings. Feel free to like, comment, and of course, subscribe to this channel if you enjoy our content. And we will see you guys again next week.